स्टार्ट करते हैं। Good afternoon, everyone. I am Himesh Singhal,
And I am Molly Srivastav.
and we are back today as your hosts for the second half of the final day of the NSB Energy and Sustainability Conclave NESCON 2025.
We are gathered here to witness the drafting and evaluation of the policy of the Executive Board by the respected committees.
To proceed with the event, I would invite on the dais our alumnus and industry expert guests. The name are as follows.
Dr. Prabal Ghosh, Deputy Director, IRADE. Mr. Abhinav Kumar, Executive Biomass, NTPC. Ms. Anupriya Gupta, Senior Manager, BHEL. Mr. Rishabh Sharma, Founders Office, Energia. Mr. Sandeep Priyadarshi, AVP, EY. Mr. Manik Rajan, Advisor, National Green Hydrogen Mission. Mr. Vikrant Singh Sangal, Advisor, Chief Manager, Power Grid. Ms. Kirti Khanna, AGM, NTPC. And Mr. Mayank Goyal, Deputy Manager, Power Grid.
So for now, we will be having a discussion on the drafted documents, on the drafted policies of every committee, starting with UNFCCC COP, then with NITI AOG, and moving on with international press reporting. To start, I would request the EB of Executive Board of mock UNFCCC COP to submit the draft. You can please come up on the stage. More copies are on the way. Yes, pen will be provided. Sorry for the delay. Please accept our apologies. I request the executive board of NITI Aayog to please come up on the dais and read the draft. We will first start with NITI Aayog and then move on with UNFCCC COP.
So our committee was NITI AOG, mock NITI AOG, National Institution for Transforming India AOG. For the agenda for our draft resolution was a distant dream for India 2047, जहाँ पर 2 blocks बने और उन्होंने recommendations दिए ताकि हम इस goal को जल्द से जल्द achieve कर सके collectively. So first, when we talk about the introduction part, as of October 2024 का इन्होंने data quote करा, the country's total installed electricity generation capacity reached 452.69 gigawatt, with renewable energy contributing over 46.3%. Despite this progress, coal remains a dominant source, accounting for approximately 74.4% of the power mix. During peak demands, India continues to rely heavily on coal and oil and gas based power plants. However, with the increasing integration of renewable energy sources, there is a pressing need to address intermittency issues and ensure grid stability. First of all, जो proposal दिया गया वो था रिसोर्स एडिक्वेसी प्लानिंग फॉर लॉन्ग टर्म एंड शॉर्ट टर्म हॉरिजन्स, जहां पर बात होती है प्रपोजल में डेवलपमेंट अ कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव रिसोर्स एडिक्वेसी फ्रेमवर्क एट स्टेट एंड रीजन लेवल टू एंश्योर रिलायबल एनर्जी ड्यूरिंग द ट्रांजिशन पीरियड। फिर शॉर्ट टर्म प्लान में बात करते हैं रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी इंस्टॉलेशन, इंटीग्रेटिंग बैटरी स्टोरेज सिस्टम्स एंड इंप्रूविंग ग्रिड एफिशिएंसी। लॉन्ग टर्म प्लान में प्रायोरिटाइज कैपेसिटी एडिशन इन सोलर, विंड, hydropower and emerging technologies like green hydrogen. Regional synergy में establish collaborative mechanisms among cluster states to share surplus renewable energy and transmission capacity, reducing dependency on fossil fuels. Fossil fuel sector work skill development and employment हमारा second recommendation है हमारी कमेटी के द्वारा। प्रपोजल में बात पहले करी जाती है एनर्जी ट्रांजिशन प्रोग्राम टू सपोर्ट वर्कर्स फ्रॉम fossil fuel sector in acquiring new skills and employment opportunities in renewable energy industries, जहाँ पे स्किल डेवलपमेंट में काम करा जाएगा। स्टैब्लिश्ड स्पेशलाइज्ड ट्रेनिंग सेशंस इन द fossil fuel dependent states like Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh, offering courses in solar panel installations, wind turbine maintenance and hydrogen technology। तुम्हारा फोकस यहाँ पर शिफ्ट हो जाता है जब एम्प्लॉयमेंट प्रोग्राम्स और क्रिएट पार्टनरशिप विद रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी की बात आती है। फाइनेंशियल सपोर्ट यहाँ पर प्रोवाइड फाइनेंशियल असिस्टेंस एंड इंसेंटिवाइज फॉर अपस्किलिंग एंड रीस्किलिंग प्रोग्राम, ensuring no worker is left behind in the energy transition। फिर थर्ड रिकमेंडेशन हमारी कमिटी की तरफ से है विंड ऑफशोर पोटेंशियल लेवरेज विद टेक्नोलॉजिकल कोलैबोरेशन। We are exploiting the Gujarat and Maharashtra significant offshore wind energy potential by fostering international and domestic technological collaboration, जहाँ से वो बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ेगा। जो ये technological collaborations है ये इस well established है यूके एंड जर्मनी लाइक कंट्रीज में, तो वो टेक्नोलॉजी को हम बोरो करके यहाँ पर डेवलप करेंगे, जहाँ पे हम पायलट प्रोजेक्ट जहाँ पे इम्प्लीमेंट करेंगे। विंड फार्म्स इन गुजरात एंड तमिलनाडु कोस्ट लाइन विद द capacity target of 1 gigawatt by 2030, scaling further based on performances। फोर्थ रिकमेंडेशन जो हमारी कमिटी ने दिया हाइड्रोजन प्रोडक्शन PLI विथ फोकस ऑन मार्केट क्रिएशन, जहाँ पर प्रोडक्शन लिंक्ड इंसेंटिव स्कीम फॉर ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन प्रोडक्शन, एम्फसाइजिंग बोथ डोमेस्टिक यूटिलाइजेशन एंड एक्सपोर्ट मार्केट क्रिएशन। मार्केट क्रिएशन यहाँ पर मतलब डेवलप पॉलिसी मैंडेट्स फॉर हाइड्रोजन ब्लेंडिंग इन इंडस्ट्रियल प्रोसेसेस एंड ट्रांसपोर्टेशन सेक्टर्स, जहां पर ओपन एक्सेस मार्केट फेसिबिलिटीज को भी ध्यान में रखा जाएगा और नैरो डाउन करा जाएगा ग्रीन इलेक्ट्रिसिटी प्रोक्योरमेंट कॉस्ट को। इंक्रीज इन बैंक चार्जेस डिफरेंस बिटवीन एवरेज ऑफ मार्केट क्लियरिंग प्राइस MCP of renewable electricity by bidding licenses in previous year and average of renewable electricity tariff in day ahead market DAM में। इंसेंटिव स्ट्रक्चर यहाँ पर ये रहेगा कि जो टारगेटेड फाइनेंशियल इंसेंटिव्स है डेवलपर्स को, वो इलेक्ट्रोलाइजर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग फैसिलिटीज एंड हाइड्रोजन प्रोडक्शन प्लांट्स को पोटेंशियल स्टेट्स में एस्टैब्लिश करा जाएगा। एक्सपोर्ट प्रमोशंस में लेवरेज ग्लोबल डिमांड फॉर हाइड्रोजन, green hydrogen by establishing Gujarat and Andhra Pradesh as major production hubs for hydrogen exports। Fifth recommendation by our committee is optimal use of open cast mining sites for pumped storage, repurposing post mining open cast sites in resource abundant states such as Odisha and Kerala for pumped storage projects can mitigate the intermittency of renewable energy sources like solar and wind। Pumped storage solution provide grid stability and reliable backup during peak demand, enhancing energy security। Sixth recommendation, National Green Hydrogen Pipeline Framework. Developing a green hydrogen pipeline network across India will facilitate the production, storage, and distribution of green hydrogen. Prioritizing green hydrogen adoption in energy-intensive industries and transportation can significantly reduce the dependency of fossil fuels। Fifth recommendation by our NITI AOG committee is green energy projects beyond state borders। States with limited renewable energy potential such as Bihar and Uttarakhand can collaborate with resource-rich under the Green Open Access Policy, facilitating cross-border renewable energy trade and consumption, optimizes resource utilization and promotion energy equity। Eighth recommendation is standardization of EV charging infrastructure, implementing a unified framework for EV charging stations, ensuring compatibility and accessibility across all states, deploying fast charging solutions along national highways and in urban centers will promote electric vehicle adoption, contributing to reduce emissions. वहां पर स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन ऑफ बैटरी डायमेंशंस फॉर टू व्हीलर्स एंड थ्री व्हीलर्स along with the universal replacement process. Our ninth recommendation is cluster collaboration for renewable energy development. The collaboration efforts can drive capacity building, project execution, and innovation in the renewable energy sector. तो ये हमारी सिचुएशंस है, ये हमारे रिकमेंडेशंस है. अब हम बात करते हैं जो हमारे करंट पोजीशंस है अभी की. जो हमारा करंट पोजीशन रिप्रेजेंट करता है डाइवर्स मिक्स ऑफ resource abundant regions like Odisha, West Bengal, and resource constrained regions like Uttarakhand and Bihar. While some states possess significant coal and hydro reserves, other dependent on imported energy, the lack of integrated policy and framework has impeded progress towards renewable energy goals. इसको रिफॉर्मेशन स्ट्रैटेजीज में कंसिडरेशन ऐसे करा गया है कि हम पहले पॉलिसी रिअलाइनमेंट करेंगे, फिर कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग एंड फिर रेगुलेटरी सपोर्ट से हम लैंड एक्विजिशन और ग्रिड इंटीग्रेशन एंड अप्रूवल प्रोसेसेस ऑफ रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी प्रोजेक्ट टू एक्सिपिडाइट डेवलपमेंट, इसको यहाँ पर फोकस में लिया जाएगा. और यहाँ पे जो हम टेक्नोलॉजी अडॉप्टेशन की हम जब बात करते हैं, सबसे पहला बात आती है स्मार्ट ग्रिड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की, advanced storage solutions, and last is digitalization, which utilize artificial intelligence and LOT for predictive maintenance, energy forecasting, and grid management to enhance ऑपरेटिंग एफिशिएंसी. जहां पर इंप्रूवमेंट हम देखे रहेंगे फाइनेंशियल इन्वेस्टमेंट डिसीजंस में, जहां पे पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप्स को ज्यादा फोकस करा जाएगा एंड अट्रैक्ट करा जाएगा प्राइवेट इन्वेस्टमेंट्स इन दीज पर्टिकुलर रीजन्स फॉर द ओवरऑल डेवलपमेंट. फर्दर रिकमेंडेशन जो हमारा लास्ट टॉपिक है बट नॉट द लीस्ट, अफॉरेस्टेशन प्रोजेक्ट्स को फोकस में लाया जाएगा टू कॉन्ट्रीब्यूटिंग द एनवायरमेंटल सस्टेनेबिलिटी. सेकेंड इज रूरल एनर्जी रिसोर्सेज पे और उनके सोर्सेस और एक्सेस पे बहुत ज़्यादा ध्यान दिया जाएगा कि वहाँ पे इंसेंटिवाइजेशन बहुत ज़्यादा अच्छे तरीके से हो. फॉर एग्जांपल लाइक रिमोट रूरल एरियाज इन असम, बिहार, ओडिशा, improving quality of life and economic opportunities in that particular region. Last point is skill development. Launch training sessions for local communities to enhance employment opportunities in renewable energy sector, addressing the skills shortage and supporting industry growth. Thank you.
Thank you, the executive board member of NITI AOG. Now the industrial experts have 20 minutes to give their inputs if they feel like there should be any further points that are to be added. Thank you. Dear industry panelist, you may please start giving your suggestions now.
Hello, everyone. Very good afternoon. I hope we can begin.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to come here and express our views on how a distant dream for India 2047 in terms of grid stability and intermittency issues can be addressed. Well, first proposal which I have in my mind is about energy efficiency. So if you talk about it, 66% of the energy we produce is never put to good use. This is from a report by IEA, wherein highlights a bigger issue than which we need to solve about our demand side management. The thing is, whatever energy we produce, it has to be put into a use to an extent wherein we are able to say that we are doing a vital assessment about it and reaching up to a level where we actually acknowledge the fact that each unit of electricity being produced is essential for us. So if you talk about energy efficiency, a lot of HVAC systems in the country, a lot of power production houses in the country are still ignoring the fact, and they are moving ahead and are keen on adding more renewable or non-renewable capacities, which is not the right way of doing it. So first proposal which I have, which can be added on to this, is about energy efficiency, wherein though BE has come up with ESCO companies, they have come up with a lot of concept around it for the last 20 years, but we need to strengthen that in terms of implementation aspects as well. Then to enhance the proposal, the second point which you had covered about fossil fuel sector worker skill development and employment. So there is a DMF fund which we have, which is a demineralization state fund in the states like Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh. So these funds can be actively utilized for increasing the implementation of such skilling interventions. So I think that can be further appended into this proposal. Then a third point caters something around wind offshore potential, which we have, and technological collaboration. Something I think we should celebrate at this extent is we already have, a lot of relationships with companies like LM Wind, which are Danish, and we are having two manufacturing plants in India already. So the thing is to convince these companies with our technological skills that they can come ahead and invest further and not move to geographies like China or like Vietnam, and convince them that we have better policies in place to help them in growing their companies as well. Then if you talk about the fourth point which you have around hydrogen PLI and market creation, so a lot of states have come up with their policies on green hydrogen, including states like Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, UP, Odisha, Maharashtra. But the thing is, we actually don't have a lot of ample land which is available for setting up solar and green ammonia plant at the same site. So a lot on the company side, what we are witnessing is we are willing to set up solar in one state and this ammonia plant on another, though it is envisaged that there has to be some kind of subsidy on interstate cross border charges, but at the same point in time what we want is this not to be for 5 years or 10 years but to be perennial in nature. So that can be added on to here. Then some point around EV charging infrastructure, which you had covered there. I would just, would like to add that we can have battery swapping as a service. On top of it, we already have a lot of, ICE combustible engines, which are going to expire after 10 years of life for diesel engines and 15 years of life for petrol engines. For thus, these engines, we can also propose some EV retrofits. There are some small scale companies at this stage, which are, in envisagation stage only. So maybe we can support such ecosystems so that we can already contribute to reducing the scope 3 emissions there, and on top of it suggest some kind of EV retrofit so that this EV adoption pace can be increased. These are some bits from my side. Thank you.
Hello. Hello. Thank you. it's a very good effort on part of the people who drafted this small report. However, it covers all the important issues that are being talked of in various policy forums and in newspapers and policy debates. But I would suggest first that that it can be improved in terms of the focus. So first, before you write down the policy and make conclusions on what is to be think, I would suggest that the current position be emphasized more properly. For example, in the current positions that you have, what has been put, more details and more, emphasis has to be given to more critical sites. For example, in the current positions, there is not much that is being talked about the private sector's role. One has to understand that in today's power sector or energy sector, there is a big role of private sector, because there's a lot of private sector investment that has come in the power sector, which is not there earlier. And similarly, there is a private sector investment in petroleum products, in natural gas, etc. Now, why it is important? Because as long as there was a public sector, you can provide mandates that we have to do this. So the government will do that. It will ensure, the public sector units will ensure that that happens. But that is not going to be the case with private sector. You cannot impose mandates on private sector because that doesn't work in a democracy. And private sector only looks for price signals in a market environment. So you have to talk to private sector through market signals. And therefore, you cannot give mandates. You have to give price signals. Okay, so that is one thing. So therefore, this aspect is not coming here. So private sector's role is not emphasized properly. So it has to be mentioned more details. And so instead of talking in mandates, you have to talk through legislations, policies that enable or incentivize private investment. So that is one thing. Then, the other important thing that is also, because electric vehicles are being talked so much now. So two things about electric vehicles that is missed is that the battery supply line, supply line that India requires for EV adoption, that we have is not talked about in the either in the current positions or in the policies. Then there is a lot of talk of giving incentives for EV adoption, but policies for EV cost reduction is not talked about. That is an important thing. So it is not, you can no further, whatever incentives is being given to EV is huge. And even IC cars, if you look at the fossil fuel based transportation, they are being heavily taxed now. So there is no bigger incentive for EV than it is today. So there is nothing more that you can give. What is required is that you have to bring down the costs of electric vehicles through various technological research. So I think that part is also not mentioned in the current position, as well as in the policies. Apart from that, also, little small things in the resource adequacy planning for long-term and short-term horizons. I think they have talked of integrating battery storage systems, which is good because the short-term they are talking of. But even more critical and important in the long term, more in the long term, but we have to start from right now, is the pumped hydro storage. There have been a lot of studies, not a lot of, a few studies, and some studies by outside people, like by Australians, who have showed that there is a huge potential for pumped hydro in India, huge across the country. And you can really exploit this pumped hydro potential to manage your renewables absorption. So I think that is important. And CBT also can play important role in in your balancing renewables and your adequacy planning for long term and short term. So I think that should also be part of this thing. Multilateral CBT right now looks very shaky, but bilateral CBT between India, Nepal, India, Bhutan, India, Myanmar, India, Sri Lanka is very much in the realm of possibility. In Nepal and Bhutan, though, we are already working. So I think that's happening. So CBT, and with Nepal, the volume will increase in future. So I think that should be part. Second is that, in the fossil fuel sector, skill development, you have written that establishing specialized training centers in fossil fuel dependent states like Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh. I think that's not right. We should say that it should be in renewable abundant states. So Tamil Nadu should also come, coastal states also. Everywhere where there is renewable potential, wind, solar, or whatever, hydro, and you have the ability to build up your renewable industries, you should have a skill development program there. And that apart, just transition for the fossil fuel workers is also needed, and one has to understand how you will reskill them in what sector. That part of policy is not much talked about here. Then in the market creation, you have mentioned this develop policy mandates for hydrogen. Mandates is something, as I said, is not a right thing. Rather, policy incentives is the right thing. And more importantly, hydrogen is an upcoming technology and it is competing with other technologies. Always remember that. So if you mandate for a technology, you are the incentive for that technology to innovate is going away. So technologies should be allowed to compete with each other so that they innovate and bring the cost down. So mandate, again, I would not suggest using the word mandate. Mandates are okay, they are being used, but we have to be careful. And apart from that, I think in the standardization of EV infrastructure, one should talk about battery swapping, which is a more possible policy in the short term. But we need to also talk about supply side policies for EV. For example, improving the range. That is the single most enabling policy that can make EV adoption very fast. And then I think the infrastructure matter is there, but improving the range and the consumers satisfaction, utilization satisfaction. There are various parameters on that apart from range. I think that thing one has to talk about, which has not been talked. I think one can improve this using that. Thank you.
Will to add with both my esteemed colleagues sitting on left and right. They have added much more, so I have just few things to add upon. The data which say that with renewable energy contributing above 46.3, it is 203.18 gigawatt. So as of yesterday, the capacity has rose to 218 gigawatt. And last year, we have added around 30 gigawatt to RE sector in our country. And since we have this target of 500 gigawatt by 2030, so we need to add at least around 60 gigawatt annually. Moving ahead, we have talked about fossil fuel sector, worker skill development and employment. So we have got Green Job Sector Skill Council. Out of the 13 Sector Skill Council, one is Green Job Sector Skill Council. And we need to reskill as well as upskill the workers over there. Because last year, I witnessed a consultative committee of parliament on coal when the functioning of NTPC Korba plant was discussed. So, a huge number of migration takes place once the plants goes down. So we need to reskill the worker over there because this is something which they had done till their lives, till the ages. So we need to reskill them and upskill them. Probably I would request the institutions like us, NTPC School of Business, the NPTI, CPRIs, to have vocational training programs for energy professionals. So such kind of programs would enable them to reskill and upskill. Now, further, we need to talk about circular energy economy. So, circular energy economy is much needed at this very point of time because there are lapses, there are flux between ministries. And that is why n number of issues are pending before Honorable Supreme Court and different High Court. So if the ministries ministry coordinates together, such kind of flux won't be there. And circular economy, energy economy is a viable thing over there. Now, going ahead with the electricity regulatory commissions, we face RPOs and HPOs are there. 10%, 15%, but many of the states are not complying with this. So, the compliance is mandatory. Electricity Regulatory Commission should ensure that RPOs, HPOs should be complied with. And again, we have this SEBI BRSR policy 2020 in place where voluntary 1,000 companies are putting their profiles on ESG paradigm. But now it is the need of the hour for all those registered companies on the exchanges to have their ESG policy under the guidelines of SEBI. Again, we talked about setting of electrolyzer manufacturing facilities. So earlier we were having supply constraint of semiconductor, but now under this government, India is planning to emerge as a leader in semiconductor manufacturing. So once we achieve this, we would be able to bring down the production of electrolyzer cost to a greater extent. Again, setting of EV charging infrastructure. So battery swapping is one of the things we need to talk about. BESS also, and that's a buzzword. Energy transition is something which everyone is talking about. What should be the current framework? Proper framework is something we need to discuss upon. So this is from my side. And yes, since we are the one who are assisting Ministry of New and Renewable Energy on National Green Hydrogen Mission. So my colleague Manik is here working in NGHM Secretariat. So he would be helping us with the hydrogen framework.
There is a small point I would like to mention. Since we only have 20 minutes per committee, and I know every one of you has a lot of points, and we would love to hear from all of you, all of the points. But then I would like you to stick to 2 points per person, as in 2 feedbacks or suggestions, so that we can move towards the other committees, which are UNFCCC and IP. So these will be followed in the next 2 committees. Thank you. Yes, you may continue.
Can I go ahead? So, is it on?
Jacket.
So, I'll go with the wind offshore potential first of all. So, one of my colleagues said we should convince the foreign companies to invest in India. So, there is no convincing per se. There is only motivation, which can come through financial motivations for private companies. So instead of convincing them to come, you need to provide, first of all, good financial worth to them. I mean, lower your tax rates, have enabling policies over there. And like India is currently doing in weapons sector, India is giving big orders and telling them that, okay, you need to transfer the technology to India under Make in India. So this is something that you can go for. Not just give them good policies, give them good orders that along with that, you have to transfer the technology to India. That could be the first step towards developing the offshore potential of winds. Secondly, now about we are talking about EVs, but we are not speaking about the thing that powers the EVs, that is the battery technologies. So until and unless you have better battery technologies, so right now we are using lithium-ion batteries, which is heavily sourced from China. So China is the world leader in developing of lithium. So now upcoming technologies are there, such as sodium-ion batteries, and many more would come in future. So why are not we enabling battery technologies and giving a good environment for that? That would also help EV. And if the battery cost comes down, the cost of EV will also come down, because anyways, when the battery starts discharging after some cycles, there's again a cost to replace that battery, which is in the mind of a EV consumer who is going to purchase an EV. So the battery cost comes down, then there will be much more of a motivation for that. There's one more point I would like to add, which is not there in the list, which I would say is about the nuclear power. So US has recently lifted restrictions from India. It is ongoing, but the restrictions would be lifted in some time, and India can then collaborate internationally for development of its nuclear program. So India could also venture into that. That is one more thing we can think about exploring thorium-based nuclear reactors. India has abundance of thorium. So why not go for that? And that would really help the green energy part in India. That would be from my side. Thank you.
Hi. I'll talk about point number 4 and point number 6. I'll say never think about policy mandates, because policy mandates looks good. It is an easy tool, but it cannot happen. And for sector like hydrogen is not new to any sector. It is being used in many sectors. And वहाँ पे policy mandates नहीं हो सकता है. वहाँ पे you will have to focus on the cost of green hydrogen and the cost of green ammonia. I was looking for ammonia here. There was no mention of ammonia here. So if you look at the NGHM schemes, that is mode 2 and mode 2B. If you go through that, you will actually see कि ammonia का use है, and ammonia should have been included here because ammonia is it is used intensively. And when you talk about transportation using hydrogen, are you talking about H2ICE or are you talking about fuel cells? Because fuel cells के लिए भी PLI आना चाहिए, as per my thinking. That should have been that point उसमें आना चाहिए था. And I would say कि for hydrogen or for any sector for that matter, you should go a bit deeper, go to component wise, and you'll actually see कि बहुत common चीजें हैं between manufacturing of electrolyzers or manufacturing of some other things. So go component wise and focus on the economics aspect. If economics makes sense, technical things will follow. The economics aspect should have been also a main focus here. Thank you.
I would like to say one point because already my colleagues have discussed almost all the points. So improvement in financial investment decision. Here I would like to add for this carbon trading because I feel carbon trading as basically it's very innovative and much needed for this time as we want to add the capacity that is compound annual growth rate by 7%. And the major constraint going towards renewable, everybody knows its intermittent nature and grid stability. So to cater all these things, we are discussing about all long-term, short-term hydrogen. No, it's okay. Thank you. So solar, wind, hydropower, nuclear also has been added by my colleague. As NTPC is also going for its nuclear setup in collaboration with Nuclear Power Corporation. So we should also add on for this carbon trading because it will help basically in 3 aspects. First one, it will meet our climate targets. Second, it will channelize our financial resources in a much better way because it will help in supporting in reduction of emissions and also the activities. Because still our major source, approx 74% as on date is we are reliable on coal only. And the third and the most important is it will benefit the local communities by creating sustainable growth, sustainable energy, and it will give a green job. And definitely environment protection is the major agenda for all of us to meet our 2030 target. So carbon trading should be our one more foremost agenda. That's what I like to add. Thank you, and pass on to my colleague for next point.
I would really like to appreciate the NITI AOG committee for bringing together this document. The first proposal that I have is the very efficient and cost-effective green energy source that India is using right now is biomass co-firing. Already this calendar year, 1 million metric ton of coal was saved just by using the biomass pellets in NCR only. And approximately 1.5 million metric ton of biomass pellets have been co-fired, and this is a green energy source, and already more than 1800 billion units of electricity have been generated from this. So you can also include this biomass co-firing because the Ministry of Power also mandates 5 to 7% of biomass co-firing. That is going to replace approximately 5 to 7% of coal. Like it is an alternative fuel. The second suggestion that I have, when you are talking about public-private partnerships, you can also mention the models that can be used for each and every like wind, which private partner, like which PPP model will be applicable there. When you talk about solar or offshore wind, like you can also add on like which model you suggest for that particular activity. So that can be added as well. Thank you.
First of all, thank you so much, NSB, for giving us this opportunity to give our views on this draft. I just have a couple of points. I think when we talk about long-term horizon, specifically pertaining to technology, we also need to add on the technology indigenization as well as manufacturing indigenization. These two things needs to be incorporated. We, of course, need to incentivize our companies on indigenization of all this because, of course, at the initial I would say, path towards this transition, we would more be dependent upon technologies which are coming from abroad. But in the long term, this is one thing which we need to add. And of course, we need to have some specific funds to be allocated in the research and development of these technologies, that in future, when we talk about electrolyzers or hydrogen, we are also exporting them, including the technologies. Another thing is, in January 2024, India had signed an agreement with Nepal for around 10,000 megawatt of electricity, which will be exported to India. In October 24, Tata Power had signed an agreement with DGPC Bhutan for 770 megawatt of renewables power to be generated by Tata Power. In November 24, sorry, this was Reliance. And in November 24, Tata Power has signed an agreement with DGPC Bhutan for 5 gigawatt of renewables to be developed. So these are the, I would say the companies who are venturing outside in the sector of renewables. And in one of the points you also mentioned leveraging this, probably some kind of an arrangement at the national level where these Indian companies are foraying outside in the renewables, and some kind of cross-border trade can also be explored. And when we talk about Nepal, this electricity which is going to be generated is definitely coming in back to India. So during the transition period, when we are building up our infrastructure in the renewable segment, of course, this can help us cover up that period. So, and the last point would be that since hydro projects, we talk a lot about solar when we talk about renewables. Hydro is, of course, one major renewable segment which we miss out when we discuss these things. Hydro projects have a long gestation period. So there should be some sort of a discussion or policy framework on how can we reduce the project life cycles of hydro projects, which can definitely help us, these can be large scale projects which can help us build our renewables infrastructure. So thank you so much.
Good afternoon, all. As we see, the agenda is a distant dream for India 2047. My viewpoint is we are talking about, we have all 9 agendas we have put in over here, and we have summarized the recommendation as policy requirement, realignment, capacity building, and regulatory supports. So one of the most important point where dreams will come into picture is we are over here sitting as MBA professionals. But as we see in the industry, we have a lot of shortages of skilled manpower, which comes from ITIs, technicians, JEs. As we go for a big projects, as Power Grid also facing the big problem, we have tie-up with Malda, Baka, where various ITIs are there. We have tied up with them. So my dream would be, as a dream of Indian citizen and every young who is studying, no 100% people cannot do MBA or engineering. Some people do JE, technicians do it. So we have to build up the capacity over there. Institutions like us should find some ways where we can collaborate with such institutes where capacity building is there and where thousands of people can come and we can give employment to them. That is a distinct dream for me and for the people looking around. As we are talking about this, one point I would like to add in this policy, which is not, I think, the 10th point, which I want to say, is when we go into the field, the land is limited, the resources are limited. And we as a power sector professionals are using land like anything. And we are going into fields of the farmers. We are using the crops. We are destroying the crops. Frankly speaking, like it's that only. We need to find some ways where the land which have been used 20 years back, 33 kV substation was built on a very huge land. But now we have got technologies like GIS and other, where we can compact them into very small areas. So we can decapitalize the old projects where the land can be used into different resources. So land will never increase. We have a limited resource of land. So that policy point angle should be added over here, where land, and people want the sentiments. When we go into the field of the farmer, they have sentiments with the land. Where the land cost is less, people say you come and take our land. But where the land costs are very high, we show them the Electricity Act. We have the powers to do that. So that is not the distinct dream. We want to make everybody happy. We should be happy power sector professionals, but the country people, those who are giving us the land, and we should make them happy. So my distinct dream would be like that.
Thank you, industry experts, for your valuable feedback on UNFCCC COP draft.
Niti Aayog.
For NITI Aayog draft, I'm very sorry. Yes, now we move on to UNFCCC COP, and I would like to welcome EBs of UNFCCC to come up on the dais and read the draft, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. It was really privilege and my honor to serve as the president of UNFCCC with set of 13 wonderful delegates in my committee, member representatives from European Union, island states, and countries like India as well. Unlike NITI Aayog, we had a paperwork called press release, which is neither a recommendation letter or not a draft resolution. It's just a press release summing up whatever discussion we had in the committee. But apart from that, the country statements are being submitted in the form of position papers, where the countries individually submitted it to the secretariat. As this entire paper is being drafted by the delegates and it's their hard work, I think it is, this opportunity should be passed to the delegates. And I would like to invite two delegates from UNFCCC, that is the delegate of India and delegate of Germany. Please be present in the dais and present the press release to all the industrial experts present here. We, as the executive board members of UNFCCC, will be standing here to support the delegates, but I think it is their moment to present the press release.
Respected dais and dignitaries, I'm Kshitij Shekhar, a second-year PGM student at NSB. Would like to present the press release for United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, Conference of Parties International Committee, which is as follows. The United Nations Climate Change Conference, NESCON, brought together global leaders, innovators, and stakeholders to address the most pressing challenges posed by climate change. Over several sessions, the conference highlighted groundbreaking solutions and practical recommendations designed to foster global equity, enhance disaster resilience, and accelerate sustainable development. A key proposal at the conference was the establishment of Global Green Energy Equity Fund, with an annual contribution of $2 billion aimed at providing renewable energy access to underserved regions. This initiative is expected to electrify over 50 million rural households by 2030, creating employment opportunities and reducing energy poverty globally. Alongside this, the development of a renewable technology exchange network was proposed to ensure the widespread sharing of green technologies such as solar microgrids, hydrogen systems, and advanced energy storage solutions. Disaster resilience took center stage with the introduction of the Global Disaster Alert Framework, building on successful early warning systems. This initiative will provide real-time disaster alerts to over 120 countries, aiming to reduce disaster-related fatalities by 50%. Nature-based solutions, including mangrove restoration and wetland preservation, were also prioritized as effective tools for disaster mitigation and ecosystem preservation. These initiatives have already past demonstrated success in protecting millions of lives and sequestering significant amounts of carbon dioxide annually. The conference also emphasized balancing mitigation, adaptation, and disaster resilience through innovative technologies. Advancements in AI-driven climate risk modeling promise to enhance prediction, accuracy, and optimize resource allocation for climate adaptation, potentially saving $50 billion globally over the next decade. The development of green hydrogen ecosystems was highlighted as a cornerstone of emissions reducing strategies, targeting the production of 10 million tons annually by 2050 to decarbonize industrial and transportation sectors. To address the financial barriers faced by vulnerable regions, a $50 billion global adaptation fund was proposed, focusing on building climate resilient infrastructure and supporting over 100 million people by 2035. This fund aims to bridge the gap in climate finance, ensuring that vulnerable populations have access to the resource needed to adapt to the changing climate effectively. NESCON concluded with a strong call to action, emphasizing the urgency of implementing these transformative initiatives. By addressing climate challenges with innovation, equity, and collective effort, the conference has set a clear path towards a sustainable and resilient future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my delegate from Germany. It was an enriching and fruitful conference. There were many solutions discussed during the conference, and I would like to particularly highlight the delegate of Japan has agreed to, share their expertise and early warning system for the disasters with the delegate of Sri Lanka, Japan, Singapore, and other island states. Also, me being a delegate of India, we agreed to phase down coal by 2035 in order to decarbonize our power generation. Other countries like Norway and Sweden also agreed that it was a historical emissions were done by the developed countries. So they agreed to pool in more finance, that is about 500 to 600 billion dollar per annum. So I just want to re-emphasize that it is a shared responsibility for all of us. This is not a problem of single country or single island. This is a problem for whole globe, and a global solution is needed. And NESCON provided us the right platform to deliberate on the solution and various challenges faced by countries. So thank you so much for NTPC School of Business for providing such a platform. And I would like to especially mention our executive board who moderated our conference so nicely and in a formal manner. And special thanks to the Secretariat of NESCON. Thank you.
Thank you, the executive board and panelists of UNFCCC COP. Now we move on. We move on with the suggestions and feedbacks from the industrial experts. I would again like to remind you that there are to be only 2 suggestions and feedbacks to be given by each individual. Thank you. You may begin.
Well, I would like to extend my heartful thanks to the executive board, the organizers of NSB NESCON. And since we are partner to UNFCCC, and we talk about creating the Global Clean Energy Equity Fund, the Global Adaptation Fund. So every year we get into such kind of agreement. But after the contribution, what is important is the implementation of the projects with this fund. Now, recently I visited the Jharkhand. I was in discussion with the Chief Secretary Jharkhand over some energy transition program. And there we got to know that many multilateral agencies are funding there. But the work is not being done. Because until and unless this machinery, this bureaucracy takes an onus to do the work, it remains a long go for us to make things real. That is why I would request that probably the countries participating in this should take onus on the bureaucratic level also to implement the programs as proposed under UNFCCC. So this was from my side.
I'd like to add a few points. Starting from Saudi snow to California fires, I think everyone is evident of what's happening. So I think rather than addressing the climate, outcomes of climate change, we should also not forget addressing the reasons, like which we want to do. Everyone is talking about standardization of ESG frameworks, but still now we have not, come out to a level where, we can say that this is the framework which will be referred to, and this is how we are gonna reduce our own scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 emissions. So I think the first thing which has to be done centrally is, making a standardized framework which everyone addresses and have a differentiated responsibility, not only at a nation level, but also at a public and private entity level for each organization, wherein everyone should commit to a standardized goal, not by 2050, by 2070, but by 2035, because that is the need we have. Secondly, the paper mentions about green hydrogen. Only point which I want to add there is we already are talking about extension to various industries like green steel, green ammonia. So something of these measures also need to be added here. I think that would be more from my side. Thank you.
Thank you. The press release, basically highlights most, things that are generally the headlines. So it is having something for mitigation, something for adaptation, and something for all the hazards and disasters that are making news around the world. However, if one gets into the details, you will see that the pledges or whatever has been promised might be very insufficient for developing countries like India. Because, for example, it talks of technology exchange network, but it is very silent on technology transfers at low cost financing, which is exactly very relevant for underdeveloped and developing countries like India. So without that, reaching the net zero targets or NDCs or enhanced NDCs, everything will involve domestic financing that will have an impact on the economic growth. So I think that part is silent. So that is one issue. Yeah, and also it doesn't, it talks of renewables, but there are technologies like nuclear, hydro, which are also green, but which are not being talked of. So mitigation funding is very important. Nothing is being talked of carbon trade and carbon credits. So I think that part is missing in this press release. The second point that I want to make is that it is very technology specific. Nothing is being talked of energy efficiency. Energy efficiency is going to be the single most important instrument in the hands of countries like India, because all the renewable targets, because once we have set an NDC target and net zero target, so everything is in the long run. So in the short run, it is the energy efficiency that is going to deliver us our climate action, climate goals, or climate policies. So nothing is being talked of energy efficiency here, and measures and funding to support energy efficiency, because energy efficiency doesn't come free. There is also a lot of investment that goes into energy sector demand management and other things. So I think these 2 points I will make, and these 2 are important things and needs to be highlighted. Thank you.
Okay, in this, we are speaking about nature-based solution like mangrove restoration and wetland preservation. So when we talk about mangroves, it can help you out in case of a cyclone. Now, considering India, that is the coastal belt of India, but the north of India, so it's prone to earthquakes. So what about such kind of scenarios? So when we speak about disaster resilience, so it is not just an alarm feature. It's not just a it's like it's just an early warning, it's just an alarm. So if your buildings are not made up to that standard that can withstand, let's say, an earthquake which is on a level 7 at Richter scale, so the building is bound to fall. So it is while planning that you should have like earthquake resilient buildings should be a part of design, which should be at a global level, that based on the geographic area, that should be the design of the building. So along with disaster, we are speaking about climate resilient infrastructure. So based again on geographic conditions, the design of the building should also be incorporated. Now, again, taking an example of India. So if we look at any official building, in any office building, so major expenses are of air conditioning, HVAC expenses are very high. In India, you do not need glass facade on building. I mean, India is a hot country, and adding a glass facade, you're trapping more heat. More heat means you need more air conditioning. Again, more expenses, more harm to the environment. Now we are all speaking about saving the environment, sitting in buildings which have glass facade and spending huge amount of on air conditioning. So when you speak about climate resilient infrastructure, you should have, based on geographic area, it should be there. The designing should be done. So while planning, first of all, disaster resilient infrastructure, climate, something that will support the climate. And one of my colleagues spoke about energy efficiency. So energy efficiency to the consumer comes at a cost. So if I go and buy an air conditioner, which is a 3-star or a 5-star, the difference in cost is about 30% of the cost, which the consumer has to bear. So if in the long run, the electricity bill that I would be paying, it's a very small amount considering the upfront payment that I'm doing. So if we are going for energy efficiency, that should be provided to the consumer at a subsidized cost. So maybe not a 30% hike, a 10% hike, and I would be happy to pay that. So there should be a balance there. Thank you from my side.
We also have industry experts present in the audience amongst us. If there's anyone who would like to contribute.
I just wish to add few more points which just clicked to my mind while listening to all my expert panelists. Basically, to prevent any disaster, here we are talking for energy disaster, as my colleague has well explained, and we all have just a very sad trauma of what happened in California. So we should focus on 2 P's and 2R model. Basically, 2P and 2R is prevent. First, we should prevent it. Second, we should be prepared for that disaster. And the 2R's are basically how we respond if that disaster happened. Are we really responsible, and are we having all the equipments to cater that? And the fourth, the 2R, the fourth one is recovery. Suppose the disaster happened, how we are recovering from that energy or that disaster. So if we are ready with these 2P's and 2R's, I think any disaster, maybe the energy disaster in the form of fire or earthquake or anything, we can handle. So this is all from my side. Thank you.
With that, we have come to an end to the industrial summit.
Thank you, guys, for your valuable input. We are grateful that we have such an alumnus with us, and you can now be seated with the audience as we move forward with the clips of the events to be displayed. So these are the clips that are taken by the photography department of International Press. I request that these clips be played. Thank you, guys, for your input again.
Hello, 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 hello. Huh? हेलो हेलो हाँ
I request the clips to be displayed.
हेलो हेलो हेलो
और कोई
The technical team is sorting the issue with the photography.
चार पांचवा नंबर हटा दिया ठीक है हाँ वो हटा दिया
We are sorry for the delay. There is some technical glitch that is happening from the technical side. We'll proceed with the event. And to take the show forward, we invite our chief guest, Chief Patron NESCON and Director NTPC School of Business, Dr. Rajeshwari Narendran, Professor A.P. Das sir, Head of Conclave, Dr. Gopi Chandran, and Convener NESCON, Dr. Prashant Jha, to the dais.
Please, sir.
सर है यहाँ सर कहाँ एक और चेयर रखवा दीजिए संजय सर आप भी आ जाइए ऊपर एक और चेयर रखवा दीजिए
You must all be wondering what are the equipments that are kept at the back doing there. So yes, there will be a guest performance by a band, and for that, please stay tuned.
I now invite Head of Conclave, Dr. Gopi Chandran, to give an overview of the events that has held during these 3 days.
Just briefly, you can.
Good afternoon, all of you. What a joy it was listening to our own, if I can dare use the word students, and other peers deliberate on the aspects that were spoken over the last couple of days. The joy was also because of the fluency with which you spoke, and more importantly, the camaraderie and the courtesy that was evident in your expression. These are essential hallmarks of excellence, that can be seen in the future too. So hats off, congratulations. I think one of the most important things we could, in a kind of, we all must acknowledge is the initiative the leadership of the school has taken, in bringing us all together. I'm not doing a vote of thanks, but then I think it is important to set the deliberations in context, ma'am, and the seniors on the dais. I think we should give them a great congrats. I hope you'll all agree with me when I say that Prashant and myself actually walked into some sessions and did some role play ourselves. Ma'am actually told me to be brief, but then for once, let me be non-compliant when I'm walking this way. And why do I have to be non-compliant? It's because I want to do my duty to the excellence that was demonstrated. Thus, sir, in the 2 rooms, where the deliberations took place. And this was especially of the chairs, the 2 seated in the first row. They were excellent, and in the NITI AOG session. Now the specifics. I've got about 6 specifics, and I'll stop in 4 minutes. When you all walk into the field, get into the country, into the grassroots, see if you can meet 3 people who actually do the kind of job you have done. 3 people. One of them has actually been, had a discussion with our ma'am also. And this is Professor Rajivan. Please mark this name. Professor Rajivan was formerly Secretary of the Ministry of Earth Sciences. On behalf of India, Professor Rajivan would deliberate on the changes that take place in the troposphere, the impacts on the polar regions, and what is India's contribution to understanding of science. Professor Rajivan, formerly Secretary, Ministry of Earth Sciences. The second is Professor T. Ramasamy. Professor T. Ramasamy is a Padma Bhushan for his contribution to science and technology in the country. And what did he do? He, in fact, sensitized the whole of the European Union when they came to India and said, your glaciers are melting. You'll have to be careful. The question he asked them was, are you not familiar with the geysers? The geysers, the natural geysers that are present in your mountain systems, and they're not present in ours. Those geysers were responsible also for, in a big way, for the kind of ice melting we see in those regions, and they're not really comparable with the scale which we would observe in our systems. Professor T. Ramasamy, he sits in Chennai, and the third person you must meet, and the one who really, we spoke about small modular reactors, the one who propelled India globally on the nuclear scene is Professor Anil Kakodkar. Please see if you can meet them. And these three are the ones who actually, demonstrate the excellence that you all stood for. Dr. Dash, in fact, interacted with Professor Ramasamy during one of his trips to Chennai. And what did Dr. Ramasamy do with special reference to NTPC? He is the one, he spoke to Dr. Dash. He only proposed coal gasification underground. And this was about 20 years ago. 20 years ago. Now, what is important about these three? And that with it, I'll conclude point number one. Please, for heaven's sake, be credible communicators. If you do not practice values of inclusiveness and truth, behave rash, and expect everybody else to be humble, be sure the world will not listen to you. This is absolutely important. Credibility of the communicator is critical. And that completes point number one. Point number two of the other four are, there is a classic paper by Frank Hofer, Nature, Climate Change, and a few others. And what do they speak about? They speak of something of what is called the equilibrium climate sensitivity. Equilibrium climate sensitivity. We've been talking a lot about the observations. The UNFCCC did a great job. Please remember, the UNFCCC itself uses more than 1,200 models. 1,200 models to interpret observations, natural and artificially induced variations. So it will be great if we work on these aspects, and especially as industry, to be able to consolidate observations which we have as empirical evidences. Coupled model intercomparison model, project is one such. The third point. Day before yesterday, we had the chance to refer to net zero, to fake zero, to real zero. And can you imagine what is the state of art today? It's dynamic net zero. It's dynamic net zero. And this dynamic net zero means the net zero that is expected with a cap could have a tighter cap in the next couple of years, could have a tighter cap. And this will be with the greater understanding of what we should be doing and what we are capable of really achieving. And that takes me to my final point. NITI AOG's publication by Venugopal et al. 2024 about resource adequacy framework, NITI AOG's publication, is truly an India-oriented benchmark, but it's equally important to look at environmental and social framework of the World Bank Group and integrated results and resources framework of the UNDP. And finally, the future of resource adequacy, the future of resource adequacy, which has been brought out by whom? Can you imagine? By the US Department of Energy. It's the future of resource adequacy 2024. It was a great point when we referred to energy efficiency. For heaven's sake, unless we look at improving energy efficiency, even in small and medium enterprises, where we know the highest level of efficiency is something around 28 to 29% insofar as unit processes and operations are concerned. So I think it's very important to focus on small and medium enterprises also. As I said, I promise I'll stick to the rules of the game. I will stop before you ask me to. There is a newer framework, and that's the latest framework in 2025, which insists on the obligations of the state, And this is especially because the number of cases that are being brought to the courts by people who suffer impacts of climate change is growing. People can walk up to the court and say, look, I'm suffering because the state is not taking adequate action. The Supreme Court in India had done this, towards the end of 2024 as huge watershed moment. So these are some of the most important ones insofar as the deliberations are concerned. And as what did they call me? They call me the head of the conclave. I have zero hesitation in saying, here is a wonderful group of all of you in whose hands India is absolutely safe. But, every morning when you brush your teeth, please look in the mirror. And if your eye says you were a hypocrite yesterday, don't go to your office because you're dealing with global commons. There is no place for hypocrisy or hypocrites. There is place only for truth and for people who practice the values they preach. science, technology, and money will come into the hands of people who are not hypocrites. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gopi Chandran sir. We will truly practice the values that you preach. And up next, we would invite our chief guest, Director Madam Dr. Rajeshwari Narendran, to address the gathering and share her experience of the events. Please, I welcome you, ma'am, on the dais.
Good evening, Namaskar. First of all, I'm not the chief guest. I think I'm the chief host for this event, and I would like to be addressed like that. एक बहुत ही खूबसूरत बात एक युग पुरुष ने कही थी, उत्तिष्ठ जागृत प्राप्य वरान्न बोधति। उठो जागो और तब तक चलते रहो जब तक लक्ष्य प्राप्त न हो जाए। जी हाँ, आज हम उनकी 162वीं जयंती मना रहे हैं। आज हमारा युवा दिवस भी है और इस युवा दिवस पर मेरे समक्ष और मेरे साथ बैठे सभी युवा बुद्धिमतों को मेरा प्रणाम। मैं हर उस व्यक्ति को युवा मानती हूं जो कर्म से युवा है, बुद्धि से युवा है, क्योंकि समय गुजरता है और खर्च हम होते हैं। ये बात मैं अक्सर कहती हूं कि समय गुजरता है, खर्च हम होते हैं। But at the same time, it's so important to identify that what is the capability lying in the collective wisdom of this country's youth. We have the demographic advantage. We have this dividend in our hand, but have we capitalized it? Have we utilized it? Are we ready to make a more greater impact collectively through our efforts to make this world a beautiful place? Are we yet there? Have we yet started even? जब मैं यूथ को कई बार ये बात कहती भी हूं, दोबारा कहने की मेरे में बार बार तब तक कहती रहूंगी जब तक मैं खुद नहीं थक जाऊंगी, तब तक कहती रहूंगी जब तक आप मोबाइल का सही इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं तब तक ठीक है। अगर आपका बार बार हाथ वहां जा रहा है, आप बार बार वहां एडिक्ट होते जा रहे हैं, यू आर अनेबल टू separate it even at the times when your health is calling, when your life is calling, and you're still engaged in that, that means you're disengaged with the country. You're disengaged with the mission. You're disengaged with what you're supposed to do as a youth of this country. जब मैं देखती हूं कि मेरे कॉलेज में 97 बच्चे हैं, चलिए माना 17 बच्चों को ज्वाइन करने जाना था, तो भी 80 बच्चों की जगह पे जब 40 बच्चे दिखाई देते हैं, तो मुझे वो जो 40 नहीं आए उनके लिए दुख नहीं होता है, बल्कि मुझे लगता है what they have missed out. They do not know. And through this podium today, I want to tell that those who participated, I witnessed them shine like anything. I know that each one of you who spoke, whether it was NITI AOG, whether it was UNFCCC, or whether it was the photography segment, all three performed so well. मैं आपको बताना चाहती हूँ, जिन बच्चों को पहले दिन मैंने क्लास में I teach the professional skill development lab as a subject, the students who were not being able to speak a single line on their first day, I saw them speaking with that great confidence. मैंने 2 बच्चों को मैं यहाँ पर स्पेशल नाम लेना चाहती हूँ, हालांकि मैंने हर एक को नहीं सुना, मैं ये भी बताना चाहती हूँ। हर एक को सुनती तो शायद मैं हर एक बच्चे का नाम लेती, लेकिन जिन 2 बच्चों को मैंने सुना, मैं यहाँ पर उनको अपनी तरफ से कॉन्ग्रेचुलेट करना चाहती हूँ। एक अंकित गुजर बच्चा आया है आज नहीं है, दिख नहीं रहा है। Bhivendra, I think I have seen you, Bhivendra. What a wonderful way you presented. I must compliment you. You know, this is the power of participation. The power of participation. जब आप मुंह खोलने की, आप अपने अंदर एक कैपेसिटी डेवलप करते हैं कि let me speak, let me try. That first step has started of your growth. The day you decide, I will. I was talking to another person yesterday who was not around. And I asked, why did you not participate? नहीं, वो बहुत झगड़ा होता है वहां पर। पिछली बार पार्टिसिपेट किया तो बहुत अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस नहीं रहा, इसलिए नहीं इस बार पार्टिसिपेट किया। And I said, wow, what you have missed, you do not know, my dear. Life is not a cakewalk. You would have arguments, you will have counter arguments, you will have conflicts, you will have crises in your life, day in, day out, as you grow up in the ladder. Surya, can I have your attention? Thank you. If you grow up into the ladder, you would see that life is not that easy. It comes with challenges. And if you close, आपके पास तरीका है fight, और दूसरा क्या है बताइए? Flight, और तीसरा fade away. And you choose to be faded away for all the time. Please do not do this mistake. जब भी मौका मिले अपने आप को एक्सप्रेस करिए, खुलिए, और आप देखेंगे कि जिंदगी आपको खुली बाहों से स्वीकार करेगी। प्रोफेशनल वर्ल्ड आपको खुली बाहों से स्वीकार करेगा। आप चुप रहेंगे, अपने आप में खोए रहेंगे, अपनी ही दुनिया को अपना एक घेरा बना लेंगे, तो आप कूप मंडूक ही रह जाएंगे। मैं नहीं चाहती हूँ कि एनटीपीसी स्कूल ऑफ बिजनेस के जो बच्चे हैं, they should be labeled as Coop Manduk. They should be outshining anybody in this world, because the kind of course you are doing is related with something which no other school parallel is giving. I really want to compliment the organizers. I also know that only 5 to 10 students were running pillar to post to make this NESCON a great success. However, silent supporters, participants, those who have come as industry experts, those who have the love for the school, I must say that all the alumni, those who are present here, a big round of applause for you, because that shows your love for your alma mater, that you're here despite your busy schedules, you're here. And this love for our school is what makes you distinct. And definitely I look forward that आप दोनों जो बोर्ड लेवल जो दोनों UNFCCC के और नीति आयोग के, आप सभी लोगों को मेरा विशेष स्नेह और बहुत ही विशेष आशीर्वाद कि you have done wonderful work. You invoked in them the professional, camaraderie. You invoked in them the sense of belongingness to this country. And that's where I believe that we can make a difference. My blessings to each one of you, and a special mention to Dr. Prashant Jha and team, those who have made this event tirelessly possible. पूरी NSB फैमिली के हर वो व्यक्ति जिन्होंने इस यज्ञ में अपनी आहुति दी है, हर व्यक्ति का नाम नहीं ले रही हूँ, और मैं चाहती हूँ कि हम सब जो है उनको एक बार और बड़ी तेज ताली बजा करके उनका स्वागत करें। Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot. We are headed towards the most interesting part of the evening, the award ceremony.
I request our director, ma'am, and Prashant sir to felicitate the executive board consisting of panel heads, presidents, and industry experts. I think we can all do, right? Okay.
We start with the chairperson, UNFCCC COP, Tejasvi Rana.
Can we have a round of applause from the audience? We now call upon the stage Manisha Sen Gupta, President, UNFCCC COP.
Up next, we have Chairperson NITI Aayog, Prateek Biswas.
I think he's not
Next,
there.
we have President NITI Aayog, Harshit Tandon.
Up next, we have Vice President NITI Aayog, Viresh Mittal.
Next award is from International Press, Head of Photography, Siddharth Singh. Starting with the industry experts, we have Dr. Prabal Ghosh.
Up next, Mr. Abhinav Kumar.
Next, we have Ms. Anupriya Gupta.
Next, we have Mr. Rishabh Sharma.
Next, we have Mr. Sandeep Priyadarshi.
Next, we have Mr. Alok Isaac.
Next, we have Mr. Mayank Goyal. Next, we have Mr. Jayesh Behede. Next, we have Mr. Tirthankar Das. Next, we have our recent graduate, Archishman Roy.
Next, we have Mr. Manik Rajan.
Next, Mr. Vishal.
Next, we have Mr. Shiva Kesava Babu. Next, we have Mr. Mandar Joshi. Next, we have Mr. Vikrant Sangal. Mr. Vikrant Sangal.
Up next, Miss Kirti Khanna. Up next, we have Mr. Utkarsh from 3S Next as our industry partner.
Now, we'll be announcing the winners for all the three committees.
Starting with the best delegate UNFCCC COP. Any guesses for the country? All right. Yeah. Sure, please.
Sure.
We invite the executive board of UNFCCC COP.
I will not announce the award, but I think I would like to take 2 minutes of your time to actually point out few things that ma'am already mentioned. I don't know what is the reason behind a lot of delegates not turning up this year, but I saw a lot of similar faces as well inside UNFCCC, those who participated last year. And I would like to bring it to the point of ma'am and all the dignitaries present here that ma'am, the delegates performed outstanding. I don't know, without a culture of Mansok or a debating society as such at NTPC, what motivated them this much. But these people actually worked hard, and I was really amazed to see the level of performance that increased within this last 3 days and over this entire period of time. All the delegates really tried their level best, and I wish that you continue to do this apart from your professional careers and academics. And the reason being why I invited the delegate of India and Germany to present the even press release, I would like to take this opportunity even say that the delegate of India was also presenting in UNFCCC last year, and he has immense talent. I think if he continues to do so, that day is not far when he will be representing India at actual UNFCCC. Yes. So thank you so much.
Thank you, the executive board again. And now let's move on with the best delegate UNFCCC, as you have guessed it earlier. Yes, it is India. Please put your hands together for India.
Any guesses for high commendation UNFCCC COP?
Okay. You have said it right. It is Saudi Arabia. Please come up on the stage.
The award for the best position paper UNFCCC COP goes to, yes, it is right, it is Japan.
Guesses for the best delegate NITI AOG. It is Mamta Banerjee indeed. I request the first aid team to to ex-
Any guesses? Any guesses for high commendation NITI Aayog? No,
It is
no,
the
it is-
CM of Maharashtra, Devendra Fadnavis.
The best position paper, NITI AOG, goes to Rajasthan.
Guesses for the best reporter? It is BBC News. We will have a look at the reports and articles by the BBC News now. I would request Surya to come up on the podium and share with us a few words. About the report, of course.
I just have 2 or 3 things to share. All I heard in those 2 days were global collaboration, green climate funds, and global energy technology transfer. So I just reported on that, and that is all I am supposed to say. I guess I was not prepared for this.
Thank you, Surya. Any guesses for the best photographer? Well, then it is China Daily. We will have a glimpse of NESCON by China Daily, please.
China Daily. Photographer from China Daily.
Audio Jungle.
Now we move on to the organizing committee, starting with our Secretary General, Aman Chaturvedi. Please, a big round of applause. Director General Ashutosh Behra, Director General Ashutosh Behra,
Lead Industrial Engagement, Malhar Singh Solanki. Lead Training and Events, Hemesh Singhal. Lead Operations, Ankit Jha. Lead Operations, Ankit Jha. Lead PR and Outreach, Dushyant Pratap Singh. Design Head, Chitij Shekhar.
next from the organizing committee, Ankit Das, up next Swapnil Jha, next Ramanujan Murali, up next Yasub Raza Naqvi, next Shrishti Prasad, next Sukhraj Singh Sabal, Next, Santosh Prasad. Next, Apar Mathur. Next, Tinha Shovik. Next, Tinha Shovik. Next, Molly Srivastav. Shovik is coming from the controller room. Last but not the least, the backbone, Ritesh. I now request our Secretary General and Director General to felicitate our esteemed faculties and chief guests, starting with our chief guest, Dr. Rajeshwari Narendran, Madam.
Professor A.P. Das. Head of Conclave NESCON, Dr. Gopi Chandran. Convener NESCON, Dr. Prashant Jha. Professor Shiv Ratan Agarwal. CFO NSB, Mr. Sanjay Bharadwaj. Controller of Examination, Mr. Amit Bhatnagar. Mr. Ishan, Mr. Vaibhav, Mr. Pushkar, Mr. Mani,
Vaibhav sir's and Mani sir's contribution towards the IT facilities have been amazing.
Mr. Mahadev,
Mr. Manish, Mr. Guddu,
Mr. Firdaus. Now I invite Dasar on the podium to deliver the vote of thanks.
all the faculties can be seated. Thank you. And Dasar, please come on the dais. Thank you. Dasar, please come on the podium for the vote of thanks.
Very good evening to all of you. It is my very proud privilege to give the vote of thanks. At the outset, I must thank very profusely our esteemed writer, Madam Rajeshwari Narendran, for his envisioning this kind of conference. I think it is not that this is the first time we do, but the way and the scale it has been done is very applauding. And we are very happy at the end of the day. There is so much of participation and people have participated so well. Even Madam was taking some names, which I'm very proud of. So that is what you get at the end of the day. So thank you, Madam, for taking all these efforts, all these initiatives. I think it is all yours kind of vision that works. First of all, I must also thank the faculty of the NSB, Dr. Gopi, Dr. Agrawal, and Dr. Prasant, who have been very instrumental in driving this entire show. Faculty are the backbone of the business school, so they get involved is always very rewarding for the students. I am very much thankful to them that they have actually taken that duty so well. My very exclusive thank to go to Dr. Prasant of all the faculty here who have been very much involved from the day one to the day end under the very able leadership of Dr. Gopi. And Dr. Gopi, when you try to listen to him, he gives you so many inputs. Those are very much a value addition for the students. And Dr. Prasad, I saw from the day one to the day end, he has been quite involved in each and every activity, making it very value added for the students. My singular thanks goes to our CFO, esteemed CFO. I have seen that he is the head of the finance in NSB, but the way he tried to be a part and parcel of each and every event of NSB is very spectacular. So whether it is a kind of cultural function we do for the international participants, whether it is a kind of event like this, the single factor is his presence, which always try to encourage us. My very special thanks goes to alumnus who are now very industry leaders, and they have already steered one of the session on the industry leaders. And alumnus is one which you never forget, because if Manipal is very proud today of the Nelson of Satya Nadella, and IIT Kharagpur will be proud of Mr. Pichai. So many other people. We are also very proud of our second batch, Mr. Sairam, who is today the CEO of the Northern Coalfield. So all these alumnus who are present here, not only you try to bless the occasion, encourage the students who have done it, but at the same time, you try to really take it to a different level. Some of these students, some of the alumnus are very well placed. They're in different organizations. I think someday we'll be also very eager to see you at CEO position of your organization. So thank you very much. I try to also thank the experts from the IRADE, NITI AOG, other companies who are over here and encouraging the students. In fact, your kind of opinion prevails much more high than our kind of internal opinion. When you say that somebody is good, he is really good. So that is the way we take. We believe that the external intelligence always works. So you bring in that external intelligence to the entire forum. And very happy to say that you are here, a part of us. Do encourage the students. That goes a long way. You know, students are students. If they get a pat on the back, they run for a while. So that is the way we try to encourage them. For the alumnus, I simply forgot one word. Do bless them through your kind of efforts also. I sincerely thank our students who have been a part and parcel of the event, and without whom this event cannot be done. I always say that this kind of event is by the students, for the students, and of the students. So we not only try to handhold you, faculty do handhold you, ultimately you try to sign in your own way. And this is an occasion to sign. So I can see that when you get the awards, how spiritedly today, to the extent that somebody will be about to fall down. So that spiritedly came and got the award. And that's a real feather on the cap of the students. So these are our jewels in NSB. So you always make us proud and very proud. I must also thank the IT support team who are working over here, the support staff of NSB, PMI, who has come in a big way to have this occasion of success. I must also thank the student coordinators, Director General. They are wonderful job they have done. And I must thank PMI, our head of PMI, for making these facilities available to us. And they support us any point of time we need. I also need every support staff of NSB that you have been throughout there at the backbone of the entire event. So my special thanks goes to you. I must also thank ICH. ICH background, they do many things. They are very meticulous about when the time was almost like feeling a bit sleepy. I saw that a cup of tea is available. Later on, I came to know that madam has ordered the same. Probably saw me close by. ICH is always very adorable. They do a fantastic job. And I've seen ICH many years. So that's the way I can vouch for the same. By chance, I've left somebody. Please don't mind. My thanks are always with you, will remain with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. We have finally come to the last segment of the day, and this would be consisting of three parts, starting with the closing address, moving on towards the alumni association session of alumni felicitation, after which there would be a band performance by electrifying band called Ehsas.
For the closing address, I would like to invite Chief Patron NESCON to give the closing address.
With great pride, with my head high, at this moment, I feel proud of each one of you. And I declare the event as closed. Thank you so much.
Now, we would be handing over the podium to our colleagues Malhar and Swapnil for conducting the alumni felicitation event.
थैंक यू मौली। जिंदगी की किताब में कुछ पन्ने बेहद खास होते हैं, कुछ पल अनमोल और कुछ रिश्ते बहुत खास होते हैं। गुड इवनिंग लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, on behalf of Alumni Association Network of NTPC School of Business, we extend a warm welcome to our esteemed alumni who have graced us with their presence today.
It is truly a privilege to stand here today amidst such accomplished individuals who have not only contributed to the success of NESCON 2025, but have also left an incredible mark on this institution and its students.
To begin this special evening, I would now like to invite Prashant sir, whose invaluable guidance and insights have shaped this event. Sir, may I please request you to share a few words?
Thank you to both of you. Good afternoon, everyone. Our esteemed guest, respected faculty members, staff of NSB, dear students, and the distinguished alumni of NSB. As we come to the conclusion of this year's NESCON, I stand here with the deep sense of gratitude, pride, and inspiration. This has been a remarkable gathering of minds, and I want to take this opportunity to thank each one of you for making this event as memorable as this is. But I want to take this opportunity to thank a couple of people. A sincere thanks to, I'm not seeing him here right now, but Amit Bhatnagar sir. Without his guidance, all of this would not have been possible. He has been working behind the scenes and he doesn't come forward, but of course, from scheduling to exactly telling me exactly what things to correct and how to schedule things, when to basically call which particular guest. In all of those events, he has been really helpful. The second one is Gopi sir. Hello. So, Gopi sir, apart from being a brilliant mind and a very generous host, he is also a great actor. As I saw from the events, there are two different roles that he played and all of us enjoyed it really, really well. एक रोल आपने प्ले किया था for the Chief Secretary of UNFCCC and the Chief Justice of India. But apart from that, the feedback that you gave us and the corrections that you made to the panelists' points were commendable. Thank you, sir. Now, as we conclude, I would like to reflect on some of the key takeaways from this conclave. Women in Energy was an eye-opening experience to me. And in today's world of extreme and reactionary arguments, Director Ma'am's basically panelist remark was balanced and compassionate, which is a breath of fresh air. Thank you, ma'am. I got to know that to sum up this event, it has shown us that when a group of passionate and committed individuals come together, the possibilities of growth, innovation, and impact are limitless. Now, to our alumni, your presence here is the cornerstone of this event. Each one of you represent the legacy of this institute. Your presence has made this conclave a truly enriching experience for all of the attendees, particularly for our students who aspire to follow in your footsteps. We are not only here to celebrate the achievements of our alumni, but also to strengthen the bridge between the past and present of NSB. We hope that connections that you have rekindled here, the discussions you have had, and the collaborations will be initiated, and it will continue to grow in the future. I encourage for the alumni to stay connected with our alma mater, continue to mentor and guide our next generation, and actively participate in the initiatives that drive the institute towards greater heights. Thank you for joining us here on behalf of NSB. Thank you once again for support and enthusiasm. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you again in the future gatherings whenever we conduct it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Gopi Chandran, sir, to address our alumni gathering. Over to you, sir.
Good evening once again, all of you. I promise you I'll be very brief. I joined Prashant in actually thanking our man here because the leadership of the institution matters a lot in giving the right space. What can I mention to the alumni? They have been so vibrant during their stay here throughout, and some of them, AVPs and the people like those. We know how Mayank carries himself. Mayank, that was great, and every one of you on the stage. Excellent. You are probably a representative, of the groups you belong to, your batches. Alok, thank you very much. So like the only thing I would always insist is kindly be dedicated and helpful to handhold, our fellow citizens. Anupriya, Vikrant, thank you so much. You are all exceptional. Stay blessed and all the best. Thank you. On behalf of Dr. Dash also, I'm sure he joins me, in conveying his blessings to all of you. So grateful to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Your words truly resonate with the spirit of this evening. And now it's an honor to invite our director, ma'am, whose vision and leadership have been instrumental in making events like NESCON possible. Ma'am, we would like to hear from you.
I stayed here backstage so that I can do the honors quickly to all the alumni.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, please follow.
First, we have Kirti Khanna, batch E5.
Anupriya Gupta, ma'am, batch E6.
Vikrant Sangal, E6.
It's a ma'am eco-friendly kit, which will represent the theme of the event, sustainability. It's an eco-friendly kit. Mayank Goyal, sir.
All the green.
Jayesh Behede. I think he's not here. Harsh Gupta, E8. Okay. Karthik SD, E8.
Subhendu Rajan, E9.
Tirthankar Das, E9.
Archisman Roy, E9.
Vishal, E9.
Siva Kesava Babuti, E9.
Rishabh Sharma, E1, EM1.
Manik Rajan, E1.
Abhinav Kumar, EM2.
Alok Isaac, EM3.
Sandeep Priyadarshi, EM4.
Priyam Kumar, EM4.
आ रहे हैं पीछे पीछे आ रहे हैं
Mandar S. Joshi, EM5.
And one and only Sumit Saha, EM5.
One and only. All done?
Thank you, Director Ma'am. Thank you once all to our esteemed alumni for being part of this felicitation ceremony. It has truly been a joy and honor to celebrate your contributions. Now, I would again like to invite Molly and Hemish. Thank you.
We now have a break for half an hour, which is a high tea. So please come back at 6